Good afternoon. My name is Angus Parsons. I'm the Director of Research for the University. I report to Lokesh Joshi, who is the Vice President for Research. You should always know your audience. I don't know. We have a mix here. Obviously, you have researchers, academics, and support staff. So I'm going to have to make the assumption that it's a sort of very, very quick tour through the research ecosystem in the university, the scale and scope of the research that we carry out in the university. So very, very quick snapshot. Am I using? Yeah. So I just want to talk about the ecosystem of research in the university, what we do as a research office, and then our sister office within the Vice President's office is the Technology Transfer or Innovation Office. And clearly our role is enable and drive research, innovation and entrepreneurship to realise potential and maximise impact. So just in terms of scale of research that's being carried out in the university, the university spends 63 million annually on research, approximately. It goes up and down. Hopefully it goes up. If it doesn't, we get under the microscope from our office. We have approximately 400 to 450 research active academics and approximately 550 contract researchers at any one time. That can go up and down. So they're contract researchers who are in on short to medium-term contracts directly linked to awards. So the university has 5 priority thematic areas for research. They're very broad, but that's, I suppose, the nature of what every university tries to do, to make sure that we're not excluding people, and we're generally trying to, I suppose, focus on some priority areas but be as inclusive as we can. So I'm going to step through each of those and give some flavour of the purpose, the people and the place in terms of the facilities that we have. So linked to each of those 5 priority areas, we have, in general, 1 research institute, but in the case of this one, it's unusual. We have 2 research institutes. So we have the Institute for Life Course and Society. I think you'll be going on a tour of the campus. That's the second last building north after the Insight building. And we also have the Whitaker Institute for Innovation and Societal Change. So the Life Course and Society Institute is focused on, I suppose, societal challenges throughout the life course from infant to old age. And they house expertise in the area of social gerontology, economists who are looking at what are the economic costs of an aging population. In the middle here, we have Dr. Nata Duvari, who is looking at the economic and social cost of violence against women and children. She's funded through the UK Department of, it's gone out of my head. So the UK government, one of the UK government departments, and recently we just signed a contract with her to do some work with the Mongolian government on exactly that. So what is the cost of, economic and social cost of violence against women and children? Within the institute, and Nata sits within the Whitaker Institute, she's an economist. Within the ILAS Institute, they're carrying out a very interesting project funded by J.K. Rowling's Foundation, looking at the impact of orphanages and how we transform the lives of children who are in orphanages and moving them away from institutional care to more care in society. So some really interesting work going on there. You'll pass, as I said, you'll go up to the ILAS building. The Hardiman Research Building is connected to the library, and that's where the humanities-related research within applied social sciences takes place. So a really, really fascinating range of research that's happening within that area. Secondly, biomedical science and engineering, and anyone who's lives in the Galway area or who has moved to the Galway area will realise that Galway over the last 20 years has built up as a hub of biomedical research, particularly med tech research globally. I think it's fair to say we are one of 4 to 5 really big hubs in terms of med tech companies. We have a national centre, although it says National Centre for Biomedical Engineering Science, it's actually one of our institutes. It's the institute that's aligned to this priority area. And within that, the biggest centre is Curum, which is a Science Foundation Ireland funded research centre for medical devices. It's approximately a €50 million investment by government in medical device research. And when we say medical device research, they're not just looking at the hardware of stents. It's quite a broad interpretation of medical device, so new ways to deliver drugs, stem cell research, which I'll talk about in a minute, and then the clinical trials required to do that. So we also house a centre for stem cell manufacturing, which is the only accredited centre in the country. And they're manufacturing stem cells to treat issues like osteoarthritis, like diabetes-related conditions such as critical limb ischemia, and we're carrying out clinical trials in our clinical research facility, which is located over on the hospital campus. So we have a very close collaboration with the hospital, and many of the clinicians have joint appointments with the university. So we have one of 4 clinical research facilities within academic institutions in the country. We carry out sponsored trials, but we also carry out trials in association with industry where they're acting as the sponsor. But to act as a sponsor, the university takes on a very significant role in terms of making sure that those trials happen. I mentioned a couple of them that are happening. We have one in the area of stem cells using, treatment of diabetic conditions using stem cells. We have one looking at the impact of gestational diabetes and treatments for gestational diabetes, and another one looking at treatments for blood cancers. So there are 3 of the 4 that we currently have as a sponsor, and then there's up to 60 trials which we're doing in collaboration with industry. Just moving down then, Innovate is a really interesting collaboration that we're involved in, where we try and match a clinician with a business person, with an engineer, to try and solve a particular health challenge. And it's based on a Stanford model. It's been hugely successful over the last 4 to 5 years. A large number of the people who are taken on as Innovate fellows go on to get commercialization funding and to set up companies. And through the mechanism of BioXL, the MedTech accelerator, they're getting on to the next level, because there's often they come up with the idea, they get some commercial funding, and then they disappear off the cliff. So this is an attempt to make sure that they can develop their ideas even further. So it's really very, very closely linked to the fact that we have all the multinationals based here, but now we're really developing a sort of a culture of startup companies on campus, and we have 25 medtech startup companies on the campus in the Business Innovation Centre, which is the same building that we're based in, and we're looking to expand the area where we have for startup companies, currently looking for funding to do that further north in the campus. Moving on then to the area of environment, marine energy. This is my area. I come from a marine science background, so I should know the most about this, and I'll probably skip through all of it. The Ryan Institute for Environment, Marine and Energy is the institute associated with this priority area. And we also have a very active SEMRU, that should be SEMRU, not SEMRI. It's a socio-economic marine research unit rather than an institute, which is looking at the, I suppose, non-economic benefits of the environment, and particularly the marine environment. So it tries to put an economic value on the marine environment, but also, on the marine sector, but also what's the nature value of having a clean marine environment. That's Stephen Hines is working on that. In the picture, we have a young PhD researcher, Alina Wosharek. Excuse me if I got that wrong. She's working on the area of microplastics in the marine environment, and recently published some findings that showed that 73% of deep water fish have microplastics in their gut, and it got a huge amount of traction and interest globally on social media and on the mainstream media, which is really fantastic for such a young researcher. Out west of here, if you're familiar with the geography of Galway, we have the Mace Atmospheric Research Station, and that's, I suppose, run or operated by the physics department, principally Professor Colin O'Dowd, and that has been in situ for the last 40 years, I think, collecting data on air quality, and it's used as a sentinel site for sort of comparing, because obviously there's nothing between us and the US, and it's quite a very fantastic, although very unassuming facility. It's gathering a really interesting data set. Also in Carna, very close by to Mace Head, we have the Carna Aquaculture Research Station, which has been in existence now for 40 or 50 years, so a really fantastic facility. We're very close to the Marine Institute, the National Marine Institute, which are based the other side of the bay in Oranmore. And if you walk by the docks or drive by the docks, you'll see 2 green research vessels. They're operated by the Marine Institute. And because of our close connection, we have some fantastic opportunities to get access to those national marine research facilities. Moving on to Humanities and Culture, so the Moore Institute is the research institute affiliated to the Humanities and Culture priority area. We also have the Houston Film School and the Centre for Irish Research Studies, all based close to the Hardeman Research Building. And obviously this building that we're in, the O'Donoghue Centre for Theatre. And in the picture we have Professor Mary-Louise Coollahan, who was the holder of the first European Research Council in Literature in Ireland. European Research Council Awards, for those who are not familiar with them, they're the pinnacle of individual awards for researchers, and there's 3 stages. There's starter, consolidator, and advanced, depending on what stage of your career you are at. Mary-Louise holds a consolidator award, which is awarded to someone who is plus 7 years, or between 7 and 15 years post-PhD. And it's a €2 million award, which is a significant award for an area such as literature. In the STEM areas, it's still a significant award, but you can see that STEM research is much more expensive to carry out. So Mary-Louise's area of research is 16th and 17th century women's literature. It's a lot of money, €2 million. But the European Research Council is one of these ones. They look at the excellence of the research, and it really is a fantastic achievement to get a European Research Council award. And any of the universities will know how difficult it is to get them. Ireland as a country we haven't performed as well as we should have. That has been changing recently. We recently received 2 additional awards out of 6 that were awarded to Ireland in the starter category, one in the area of biomedical engineering, and the second one again in the area of literature. So we're very, very happy with that outcome. And then finally, informatics, data analytics, and physical and computational science. That's not one of our researchers. Some of you might recognize Porec Harrington, the professional golfer, and he's pictured alongside Dr. Brian Moore, who did his PhD here in NUIG, but then established a company called Orico, which are a sports analytics company, and they're using biometric data from athletes and helping them to recover from injury. And they work with the Insight Centre for Data Analytics, which is an SFI-funded research centre that we have on campus. And what they're looking at, and they're trying to take that approach in terms of professional athletes and bring that to patients. So how can we use biometrics and biomarkers to help patients recover from illnesses such as cancer? We host the Connacht Automotive Research Centre in the engineering building, and they're working with a large French multinational based in Tuam on vehicle automation, so autonomous vehicles, and they work with some of the large vehicle manufacturers as well. And then finally, we are the host for the Irish Centre for High-End Computing. It's a facility that's hosted by us on behalf of the higher education sector in Ireland. And similarly to the biomed or biotech sector, the medtech sector, we have a large cohort of startup companies on campus and hoping to grow that as well. And this is, I suppose, maybe confused picture, but this is an attempt to capture everything we do or attempt to do within the Office of the Vice President for Research, starting out inputting into and driving the university's strategy for research, supporting the pre-award function, and we're divided into national team and international team, supporting researchers and academics to submit high-quality research proposals. We have legal expertise in terms of research contracts, and then our partners in research accounts and research HR are on the post-award element of research contracts. There's a bit of difficulty reading there. And then moving into the work of the Innovation Office, so they're all about supporting knowledge and technology transfer, protecting intellectual property, licensing technologies, making connections with industries, and supporting the Business Innovation Centre, where all of these startup companies are based. And then just over on the left, we also support 2 student-focused programs, the Blackstone Launchpad and Explore, and they're programs aimed at developing entrepreneurship and innovation amongst students, but also there's opportunities for staff to get involved there. And then, as I said, the entrepreneurial and startup support. And then I will just finish with some numbers. Ignore that little asterisk, that's a carryover from a different slide. Just some metrics in terms of what our highlights have been over the last 5 years. The university has won 285 million in contracts, research contracts over the last 5 years, a significant amount of money, significant amount of responsibility, including 107 Horizon 2020 projects. Horizon 2020 is the big European research funding program that we're all chasing, all the universities, competitively but also cooperatively. I mentioned Science Foundation Ireland. Science Foundation Ireland have a big program of research centres, 17 research centres. We are leading our partner in 14 of those. Some of them a much larger participation, such as the Research Centre for Marine Renewable Energy. Some we have a very small participation in, but it's good to be spread across as many of those as possible, because Science Foundation Ireland are pouring more and more of their money into these centres rather than into individual awards. And that's I suppose, a bone of contention among some researchers, particularly those in the more basic and fundamental side of things. And then 16 spin-out companies created are supported by the technology transfer offices, and licensing of 58 technologies to industry. So we're a relatively small office. There's approximately 12 in the research office and another 10 or less in the technology transfer office. But I think we do support a huge amount of activity across the university. And I'll just leave you with some contact details there. As I say, my name is Angus Parsons. You can find me on the staff directory. I can leave some cards around if anyone wants to get in touch with me. And if you're a researcher or academic, I can put you in touch with the relevant people in our team who would support, whether you're looking at putting in an application for national funding or European funding, and depending on which college or school you're in. So we divide ourselves by college, by school, and by funding type. So I'll leave it at that and invite any questions that anyone might have.